Welcome back to Indie Housing Market. I'm Kyle Morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker.
And I'm Shelly Walters with the Shelly Walters Realty Group and FC Tucker.
And I am Josh Dilmaghani with White Stag Realty.
Yeah, I don't feel like I have to be like a special guest anymore. Like I just feel like you're a recurring guest. Like just introduce yourself at this point.
Am I the first repeat?
No. Mayor Jensen has been on before.
The mayors.
We've had a couple of like loan officers on a couple times.
Come back.
Yeah, if Mr. Mayor is Mr. go before Mayor? I don't know. Anyways, we've had a couple, but I think you're the only agent.
Yeah, you're the
Cool.
only, and you're so fun.
Yeah.
You're just so fun.
Yeah, he's definitely the only agent.
Well, you need
That's been a repeat.
your Facebook page. Everybody needs to tell that at the end, so everybody can just follow you because that's what I love. I just
Like and subscribe.
Thanks, yeah.
Do you do TikTok?
I have a TikTok, but it's not.
You would be funny.
I post like a video every 6 months. So
Oh, yeah. So you're super into it.
Yeah.
See, okay, so this is going to be, we're just going to do a vent session for everybody. We have stuff to
Right.
talk about with the market. Sorry, I'm rolling up my sleeves here because I'm about to get serious and vent. So I was like a really early adapter to TikTok, like before COVID, right? And
Wow.
Yeah. Well, so as a business, I was, I don't know. I was maybe like 2 or 3 years into the business. I was like, all right, so how do you get to know people, blah, blah. And I got on there and it was like 15-year-olds. Right? Like people weren't really putting out content the way they are. And I just got made fun of.
People
right?
make money at TikTok.
They
now.
do. Well, back
Yeah.
then I didn't know any of that stuff, right? Because that all really kind of became big during COVID. And I had a handle that was really kind of like catchy. It was Homes and Homies. Like I was like, here we go.
Nice.
And people are like, why are you doing this? I was like, well, because those people will turn into 25-year-olds who will buy houses at some point, or maybe they'll just be like, hear their parents talking and be like, hey, I saw this one idiot on TikTok.
Right.
And so, but then during COVID, you didn't have a lot to do, and their algorithm is insane. Like it is so dialed in, and I would just lose. Like I'd be like, I'm gonna look at TikTok for a second, and then it's like
that.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like you're just like, I didn't even like my wife, like our whole family got into it. My wife was like, hey, has TikTok ever told you like you need to take a break? And I was like, what? Like it does that? I was like, maybe you have a problem.
It's like Netflix. Are you still watching?
Yeah. Like, do you have a life, basically? And my family got very disjointed. Now it was kind of neat because TikTok became like the love language between all of us there for a while, where you like send like clips to like your kids or to your wife. Like I would send a clip to my wife while I'm laying in bed next to her while she's watching other stuff. And in 2021 I just made a bet with all of them. I was like, we're hanging around each other and we're not talking anymore, and we're communicating like this, but I want to know other things about you and vice versa. And I feel like we're losing the intimacy, so to speak, of our family. And so I put my money where my mouth is. I made everybody get rid of TikTok. Like I was like, if my son, if he stayed off of it for 10 months, I bought him a computer, all this other stuff. And we did it, and it was amazing. And then as soon as it hit 10 months,
He got a computer and he got back on TikTok.
He did.
Thanks for the computer, Dad.
And then my wife did better. She was good off of it for like another year and a half. And then she's kind of back on it. Like I watch Insta-Talk is what I call it, where it's
Okay.
like 3 months behind on Instagram or on Facebook. The algorithm itself is just so good. You just lose time. And for me, I'm trying to promote a business and all this other stuff. I lose so much time. I could be working on my business, and I do know there's agents who build their business off of it, but I would also make an argument that there's a lot of time lost. And
Personalization is much better than computer stuff.
well, and then every agent, they're like, oh, so-and-so made money off of this, so that means all of us can. And then it's like you're less than if you're not doing it. Like if you're going to make money off of it, you'd be the person making money off of it. I know there's a couple who do it
Yeah,
really,
you would
really
be
well.
fun if you did all your stuff just talking.
Summer
over
Hudson
it.
does it
Right.
really good. She's a good agent. She's an amazing agent. She does it. I hope she doesn't care I'm bringing her name up. She does a lot of like really cool homes, mid-century modern, older homes. She just does it the right way. I know there's other ones out there, but it became a time suck for me. I don't see there's such a time commitment to creating content when I think I can be more productive or I can actually enjoy my family. And I didn't like what it was doing to me mentally, as well as my lifestyle and all these other things. And so I have not had it ever since, even though like I was on it early. So
Raquel got paid from Snapchat a couple of times for her her animals, her cats and dogs.
You making money off your freaking
Yeah,
dog?
I did.
Man,
I make Facebook money.
really?
Yeah, it's not like life-changing money, but
30 cents here, $5
it's like
here.
1 month it was like $30, and you have to have a like to be the blue check mark, you have to have an LLC or something like that. And so I just pay it into White Stag.
Yeah.
And so it's like additional income for us. And so my business partner would be like, where'd this $35 come from?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think I pissed a lot of people off last month.
And it comes from likes or content or what?
Just engagement, yeah.
So that's the weird thing too. But you have to do it through your business page, correct?
No. So
you can do it through your personal?
My personal page has the check mark. And then for the payment, I have it just rolling through White Stag.
Right, because that's okay. Because I lost all my business accounts because my Facebook and my Instagram were tied together. The Instagram got hacked.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and I lost all of my social media, and I was
that
like, man,
might
it's
have been
just
for
not
the
worth
best.
it.
I don't know that business pages are worth it.
It's like it's a layer for validity, but I don't think it drives business. At least not the way I run my business. Even you, the way you run your business,
It's just you need to
would
be
make
there.
sense for you. But
need to be there and post sometimes here and there, but people find you. I had a saying, and this was old because I've been in the business for 16 years, and it was probably 10 years ago where I printed out this poster that said 98% of the people have already know who you are before they call you by looking.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
And
with
you
that.
have to have that validity online. So, like, if they don't see the Facebook page or they don't see the TikTok page or I don't know which ones would be the most, but if they don't see those, their first question I think they're going to say is, how are you going to market my house? You can't even market yourself.
Yeah. For me, TikTok, if they're trying to find me through TikTok, just full disclosure, I don't know if I want them as clients because they're some of the most oddly educated, because there's just so much disinformation and poor information, people about the economy or Bitcoin or freaking housing market crashes. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I tell people, I was like, quit getting your news off of TikTok.
But you have to be out there somehow.
Correct.
Like having the podcast that you guys have, I think is great. I tell my agents to listen to this because like one thing that I find a lot of value in this longer form conversation is you guys inevitably say things that I'm like, other agents would relate to this if they listened.
Yeah.
Right? Like everyone sees high producing agents and you're like, oh, all your stuff sells in one day for 50,000 over list. And it's like, no, and I
play golf every day or something. Yeah. Like,
Well, and they also for us to even talk about it, I would guarantee when they're listening, like, I've always thought that, or I've always wondered that, and they just said what
Yeah.
I've been thinking,
Well, but our industry is really bad. Not even our industry, society as a whole. Whatever I'm not doing, I should be doing because I'm clearly not doing enough, right? The reality is do what you're good at and then pick one thing a year to kind of test the waters on, because I can't do everything. Like,
Well,
I don't have
and-
enough
and
hours
also-
in a day.
But inevitably, like anything you choose to do, you are choosing not to do something else.
Correct.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't consciously know what the thing that you're not doing is because of the thing you're doing. But it's like I have this running joke with my wife where like I will not eat anything with pink frosting and I will not hula hoop. Okay. And my rationale
Are those
is,
related or not?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
My rationale is you can't do everything. So if I pick what I will never do, I'm leaving the door open for a lot of other cool stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But it's
Hula hooping's overrated anyways.
so is pink frosting, I hope.
I have a friend that does a hula hoop dancing, and she's just, oh my God, it was beautiful. I've never seen one before.
There was one on America's Got Talent. My
Oh,
friend
really?
told me. I didn't watch
Oh,
it.
she should do that. But anyway.
We should drug test
But
those
here's the one
people.
thing I will say on the marketing. This is all I think really towards
Yeah, yeah.
marketing. But I think one of the things I was told in the very beginning, and it's still true, and I don't do, and this is it. Your top 50 or top 100, if you just keep them in touch with them, your business is going to be so good. But when you're trying to do TikTok to see who you might grab,
Right.
what you're doing things when you should be doing other things, like this week, your first 10, sorry. So, yeah, when you're doing one thing, you're not doing something else. So when you're dabbling because you think you could make money on TikTok or grab new clients, use the people you have.
And I was going to say, like, it's also a lot of agents go down the slippery slope of I started wanting to be a realtor and now I'm an influencer.
Yeah.
And
Oh my
they just go
gosh.
off the rails with it. And it's like, I think there's so much more money to be made in real estate than social media influence in terms of the amount of people that in social media end up making six figures. It's so low.
I have a buddy who does woodworking on YouTube, and he basically like learned how to be good at it. And like that's what the channel was like, I'm not good at this. I'm going to learn how to be good about this. And like it's a whole thing now, and it's absolutely amazing.
That's
and he's
awesome.
put a ton of effort into it. But it's because he is himself, right? Like he's not portraying something else. And so a lot of social media portrays, that you're something other than you are. But once you get good at something and it's just working, like you used to do a ton of SEO, search engine optimization stuff, right?
I still do.
No. But you've gotten it to the point where it's like on cruise control with some fine tuning. Fair?
Right. Okay.
Because you spent which then allows you to be like, all right, well, let me look into doing some TikTok or like,
right.
Or how long did it take you to get good at, not good, because that's not the right word for it, comfortable with doing video because you do content where you do video explaining market and stuff like that. How long did it take like the very first time you ever do a video? Like, why didn't anybody tell me I look like an idiot?
And my production value is still terrible, right? I'm like, every video I do, I'm like, I hope to God the content is good, right? Because nothing else will be.
But your personality comes through on that.
Thank you.
I think, yeah.
And that's another thing, not to sound pompous, but when you talk about marketing yourself, like every real estate agent is taught like authenticity sells. And I do believe that. But my unpopular opinion is some people's authenticity doesn't sell. Right? And so it's like you might have to manufacture some kind of engagement, even if that means going out against the grain of what you would naturally do. Like be inauthentic for a little bit. Just try it.
Yeah. Don't be aloof. I don't know. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, if you just kind of suck as a person,
you wouldn't be in real estate, I don't think.
Maybe sales isn't the
no,
career for you.
Well, let's talk about what you had some ideas about. Talk about today, how we got on this
Oh,
tangent.
okay.
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know.
We were complaining, and I just went down a rabbit hole because that's what I do.
Well, we're going to complain some more.
Yes.
So I'm an avid listener of y'all's podcast. So part of like how I came up with these topics is there's just things that I haven't heard on this show or really anywhere yet. First thing is I think in the last I'll say 6 to 12 months, I perceive that builders, and I don't think they're doing this maliciously, are screwing a lot of buyers. This is maybe not every community, but basically what's been happening is to sell their inventory, builders have been offering 30-year rate buy downs.
Yep.
Okay. And for the builder, this is a shitload of money, right? So we just closed a new construction last week in which I'm sorry, are we allowed to curse on the show?
Yeah.
Hell yes.
Okay.
I mean, I don't let it fly
yeah.
like I do usually, but I like to add some flavor and some spice
Like,
here and there.
It's funny you looked at me. I was like, I'm the one that decides.
So basically, we closed a deal last week, for example, where the builder paid our agent 5% commission.
5?
Dude, they offered it. A rate buy down for 30 years to 4.75%. I think it was like $10,000 in closing costs, upgraded appliances, window coverings. You go down, the purchase price on paper was about $350, but the total concession, because the builder rep broke it down for us, what the monetary value of all this was to them, was $58,000. And you're like, oh, y'all paid $60 to sell a $350,000 house. But here's how I think it could be screwing, potentially, the buyer. You fast forward 3 or 6 months down the road, the builder is still struggling to sell their inventory, and they drop the price of the next of that floor plan to $325. Okay. Then our buyer who bought the house gets a divorce, they lose their job, life happens, and now they're in a situation they need to sell. Okay. At that point, the home you bought for $350 is worth, let's say, $325 hypothetically. And now if you sell, you have to incur the cost of selling, which could be 5, 6, 7%, right? Let's call it 5%. So you're about $20,000 to sell, okay? So they've really lost $45,000. They would have to bring $45,000 to closing to sell, and they may not be able to. So the point being,
They got no equity.
Right.
And they're still sitting at 350.
Yeah, the rate buy down is great if you're in the house for 30 years.
Yep. Or even, let's call it 10.
Right. Yeah. Because at that point, you've paid so much front-loaded interest
You've got
that
equity
you're...
based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is its best if you're in the house for 30 years, in theory.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The average is now 10. It used to be 7. We just learned that in a meeting. Yeah.
You know what the average age of a first-time home buyer is? I just found that out.
34.
It's 30. What was it?
38.
38, yeah.
Okay,
It
crazy.
was 34,
That's
I think,
high.
last year. 34 last year.
Well, I also wonder about that statistic because in the lending world, you count as a first-time home buyer if you haven't had your
That's
name on
3
a
or
house for
5, yeah.
So is it true first-time buying a house?
All
Is it the
data is-
classification?
That's a
of?
good point. And the thing that they also said is that the average buyer's age is like 58. And I'm like, I don't know. That
All
would be
data
just selling
can
a bunch
be
of
made to
70-year-olds.
say whatever I want to say.
But I'm much lower in age groups.
That's also the people that responded to the survey, which are generally
Yeah.
older people.
right.
Got time for it.
Yeah,
all that
they're
stuff.
like,
So
I got this
stats are as
mail.
good as they are if they're
Always.
where they came from. And we talk about that all the time when we talk about stats. It's like we're just kind of looking at
Like when I was
what
in
we're
pharma
seeing.
sales, like you would talk about, I don't even know, like complications, and they'd be like, oh, 10% of the time this happens. And you're like, well, there's a big number of people there, just so you know.
Right.
Or it's like, it has a 73% efficacy rate, and you're like, well, what about the other people? You know what I
especially in
mean?
pharma.
And you just make it, you're just looking for the most beneficial number that can sell what you're trying to
Dude,
sell.
the meningitis B commercial I watched a couple weeks ago was like 15% of all people hospitalized with meningitis B died. And then you're like, well, one, what the hell is meningitis B? Because like I grew up and there was just meningitis. There was no A. And two, well, how many people got hospitalized?
Yeah.
Did 100,000? And I look it up and it was like 160 hospitalizations for meningitis B. So you're like 15% of that. Okay, 24 people died. I don't care.
Yeah,
You
we
do.
do all types of that stuff.
I mean, not in terms of selling a medicinal product on.
But they make it scare you so
'Cause-
that you want to buy the drug. But here's the other thing too: is when you listen to those, they crack me up. They start with, "Here's the name of the drug," and the next 29 seconds is everything that can
effects.
happen to you if you take this drug. And
Oh.
I'm like, who would take any of these drugs? Of what
when
you're listening
when antidepressants are like thoughts of suicide, I'm like, that's not a side effect. That's not working. Yeah, that is. Yeah.
Like Chantix.
So back to the builders.
Quit smoking.
We
No, I got
digress.
more. I want to keep going down this rabbit hole. Let's talk about restless leg syndrome next.
Oh
That's
my god. Or
overdiagnosed.
seasonal affectivity disorder.
Yeah,
Which we're
Yeah.
going into right now.
yeah.
Right.
It's snowing outside,
So
by the
with
way.
builders, one of the things you're saying is the part about that where buyers are being potentially messed up by the builders. My one huge thing is, we say it all the time, is if you aren't represented with an agent, those builders can tell you anything. First of all, the person that they have at the front desk that's working with you is not representing you. They're
Correct.
representing the buyer, and everything that they do. And
The builder.
yeah, that their sales rep is
sales
not
rep.
representing my buyer.
They represent
a buyer.
They represent the builder. Yes.
So you have to have somebody representing you. You're paying the commission whether you do or don't. And every time I work with a buyer, with a builder, I'm like, there's no way in hell they would have got through this correctly without me.
Right.
It's disgusting. And I'm working with a builder right now who's literally, we did the inspection and they are saying the house is sold as is. We don't fix things that you agreed to the house as you saw it and it was completed. And the roof is curling. Like this, I'm sorry. So
Cut your hand
I
off.
know. But I can't. I was just like, what? And, he said to me, is that true? And I said, no, because he was ready to go, okay.
Well, I mean, I would love to go to Baggy and find out how many complaints are actually sent. I bet it's very, very, very minimal.
Nobody gets to
Right.
that point.
Yeah.
They complain and get mad. And then they
Baggy
never
is
do-
I'll
Builders
check
Association of Greater Indianapolis, which
Correct.
is where and even that is voluntary, so like the major builders are members of it, right, as a collective, so to speak, to work well with the rest of the industry, right? And so,
It's their policing force.
yeah, you do, you sign a 70-page contract and, it's got all this stuff in there. And like one of the things in there is that, you will not pursue litigation without trying to go to mediation first through Baggy. And even then, a lot of them say like you're not even entitled to litigation. Like you have to go through this process, and that's what it is. Now, obviously,
Right.
nobody is limited in that sense, right? But like it's implied in there. But I agree. It's really interesting because where I think builders are hurting people, they're also helping people. Is the weird part about it, because for the people who are going to stay there 10 years, I'm getting you into a house that I could not get you into right now.
Right.
We
Because
still
the
say
interest
builders are
rate-
the way to go because of the interest
But if-
rate,
but if
because
you
of the
sell
new
quickly-
warranty compared to the resale of a 5-year-old home.
But if you sell quickly, you're screwed. Like,
Yeah.
and not just a little bit.
It's going
Like,
to be for everybody today's
Well-
you
world.
could be trapped, actually.
I know. And another thing I think, so realtors, like whenever we close out a transaction, we have to report the closing cost concessions
Correct.
that the seller paid to the buyer. And in theory, the appraiser is going to subtract that out on subsequent appraisals because that money didn't have to do with the value of the home. It was like an incentive.
If every agent supplies that information,
but
are
at least
you
now
legally
both agents
to?
have to do it.
You have to
Yeah.
verify your closing.
Yeah.
with it.
So if it makes it through 2 agents with faulty information,
That's on the broker.
Yeah.
You got bigger problems.
but I kind of wish that builder sales had to have a platform where they have to also report these concessions. Because now now take the scenario of our buyer that bought a $350,000 new build. Now you're trying to sell a resale home across the street,
In the
and they think
neighborhood
they're
that's-
worth $350, and it's like, no, because that builder paid $60,000 to get that price.
Yeah.
You might be worth $310, $320, but like if that was reported and taken out of real estate appraisals, as I think it should be, I think it would help the market tremendously.
But
Well,
it works for a builder, though, right? Because I keep the price up, which then allows me to support further appraisals. Have you ever bought a new construction or spec in a brand new community that
won't.
only has a couple houses?
Yeah, you don't want to do
And there's
that.
an appraisal shortfall because they need
Yeah.
this
Right.
data to support the sales or the price point that they have created for the neighborhood. And I have done new construction where there was an appraisal shortfall and we had to cover like 10 G's.
Dang.
So what I was
Now this
gonna
is back in like 01.
Yeah.
Right? So like you didn't have leverage anyways because they're like, shoot, we'll just sell to the next guy who will bring
But
it.
now there's so much new construction going on everywhere. Even if you don't get the same community, you might get similar across the street.
But what's your thoughts on this? So talking about the appraisal process,
Yeah.
talking about agents not being involved in every transaction. Maybe 75% of them are not an agent involved because the public needs to understand this. But here's the thing. So if the house is $300,000 and the buyer had an agent, they paid commission to that agent.
I wonder
the
if we
next
could find
person-
that out. That
But
number.
the person that comes in and doesn't use an agent
They still
pays
pay $300,000. Yeah.
The buyer needs to take that out, but they can't because the next door neighbor would be mad with, why did you get a cheaper house? But seriously, any of you out there not using an agent, the house is the appraisal value, and it's for sale by owners as well. All those appraised values come with the past sales for the past 6 months. If the past 6 months they all had agents involved, and you didn't pay an agent, the buyer didn't, builder didn't, then the house should not be sold
Right.
at that appraised value. They don't take out commissions in and out because of builders, and I know builders many times are selling and making more money on that house because why they don't say to get a realtor.
Right. And so I think that's the best argument, in my opinion, of hiring a realtor for new construction. It's
You're
like,
paying for it.
right.
just add a
it's
layer
not,
of protection.
I do think it's worth it most of the time. Now, I've had new construction also that went well.
Yes.
The inspection went well. The walkthrough went well, and the buyers were thrilled. I may have not been necessary in that scenario, but one of the difficulties of real estate in general is you don't know at the onset of the process.
Correct.
And when
That's
it
what
goes bad, it usually goes bad financially for you. And you're talking about appraisals. There's a builder in this town who does not allow, appraisals, inspections. They only allow one during the whole process. And I believe in the 3-stage inspection, which is,
One like pre-drywall.
yeah, the slab or basement.
Okay,
and then
foundation, pre-drywall.
Yeah, and then before you close. And these absolutely refuse to allow more than one. And I'm like, how can you tell my buyer what you can or can't do in regards to being protected on the build of that house? Because I see all the time people that don't do that. If you didn't do pre-drywall, you can't see the disconnected flues. You can't see the disconnected this and that. And once it's covered, you don't know what you're missing. And if a builder is absolutely positive that they're a great builder, what are they hiding?
Right.
That drives me nuts.
Well, they won't even let you sticker them these days. They
Oh,
take,
I
they
have
take
my
stickers out of my hands.
Now I got Post-it notes on the most recent one.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it's ironic. They're taking away the blue tape.
I have
Yeah.
blue tape in my car. Why?
Well, they're a lot of builders aren't doing the blue tape meetings anymore because it messes up the paint. Their paint is so cheap that the painter's tape messes it up.
Well, I used to put a ton of tape out there too, and so they're like, no, you can do it, but I get to hold the tape, right? And then
It's like that will last 5 minutes, Deborah. Like
yeah,
I'm
just
gonna
give me the stupid tape, dude. But what ends up happening is like, what I usually have going on is my clients are doing the walkthrough with the super, right, or whatever, project manager, whatever you want to call them, in any given company or whatever. And I'm off taping.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what I do.
because I've heard all this stuff 1,000 times at this point, and I want to be able to look at stuff without all the distractions. And so, like, I'm already a room or two ahead of them, and I don't think they like that, because then they're walking into a room trying to teach somebody about how to look at these double hung windows, and like, we're going to do this, and they walk in and there's like 60 pieces of tape, and they're like, okay, yeah, well, what's up with all these problems? I get where it happened, but I've also seen agents take advantage of it, and they try to insert their value, and they tape everything, and like you got to know the rules. It's got to be, I think it's like at least 6,
but a
7 feet
builder
away.
telling us
to be
it's as
visible.
is.
That's not a thing.
No,
Yeah, no,
no.
that's
And
not a
I'm
thing.
like, I said that. I go, I've never heard this before. And one of the things wrong with the house too is there's 2 closet or cabinets in the kitchen that have huge scratches through them, as is.
Yeah,
Nope.
I'd be calling corporate on that
Well,
personally.
my walkthrough's tomorrow.
Great.
So your closing's
As
delayed.
my family says, don't go shelling on them.
Nice.
Okay, the most common thing that I see come up, have you guys ever had on a builder walkthrough, or sorry, if you do an independent inspection, the attic trusses will have some kind of discoloration on them? And have you guys had that? Man, okay, I've had it called out now like 3 times in the last like year, and every time it's always like dust or dirt.
Yeah,
But
from
it's
laying
not.
outside.
But from laying in a warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the builders order a buttload of wood
Mm-hmm.
and then just have it stored somewhere.
Well, talking about trusses, and this is why I say they don't let you do inspections, or you don't do an inspection, is I have now purchased with buyers houses that are 2 to 3 years old with broken trusses. I'm like, that
Right.
was done when they were building. You didn't catch this. You obviously didn't inspect. There's more truss issues right now that I'm hearing about and coming across my own self. Like, we talked about how these were going up like crazy in 21 and 2022, and whether their trades are coming and going and they're not their normal trades or whatever. But these are people doing this. They're humans. But why these trusses are all a problem right now, I don't know.
I mean, most of it's done as pack. I mean, they just order it. You know, what I mean,
But
it comes
somehow
as a
they
framing
cut them
package.
or do something weird to them or don't
Yeah.
attach them to this. How they have to attach them to something. It's crazy.
I mean, it's
People
just-
need to look at
It's the cost of
trusses.
materials, and so I mean, there's so much that goes into that, right? So first of all, the more expensive the house, usually the better the wood and the framing kit, like whether you like it or not. There's one builder here locally that I've dealt with. I've actually never used them again, and I would never say who it is. And pre-drywall, like I can't even describe it.
The wood
I
with
mean,
the
just
notch out like half of the
holes
door.
everywhere,
Like, yeah, you're like,
like,
really?
it was
It's
just
behind the
so
walls.
bad.
You won't see it.
And it's, I
Right.
mean, it's not like a cheap home. I mean, it's mid-level stuff, but
That's interesting.
yeah. I'll tell you
I've
later.
seen it too, pre-drywall. I've seen it too. And you look at them and they're like, well, that's fine. It's behind the drywall. It won't matter. I'm like,
Yeah, but some of 'em are-
structural, are they even working
some,
structurally?
yeah, some of it it's just like, what are we doing here though? Like whether it's important or not, like what are we doing here? Some of them are amazing. Like I'll call this one out by name, Drees. Like that is the best framed house I have seen. Of recent, I mean, I don't deal with everybody all the time, right? But I dealt with a Drees like a year or two ago, and I mean, it is printed on there where the boards are supposed to be and everything. I mean, it's like Legos.
I was
How
gonna
well
say,
it
yeah,
goes together.
like you're a
It's
little
beautiful.
boy, you were doing that, yeah, or girl.
It's beautiful, but I mean, wood's just not the same. I mean, you have labor costs, and like I don't know if you guys have seen stuff where like we're growing wood faster, so it's not as good of wood.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
as
I've
hard.
seen the thing
and-
where it has like less rings
Yeah,
or less
yeah,
dense
yeah.
rings.
Right, because we're trying to get wood supply and all that.
But I also fall for stuff, so I don't know if that's that big a
You
deal.
saw that on TikTok, probably.
I saw it on Instatalk, I think, but
Yeah.
it's a totally different thing. But like you just see things like that and cost of goods and all this other stuff. But I mean, it is a business, and they are trying to
Hire
make
a
money.
realtor, that's all
But
we
it's
have to
also
say.
you go down the path of like, well, why buy new construction if we're sitting here pooping all over it? I mean, you get the warranties. You have 10-year structural for most builders, 1 or 2 year workmanship.
Lower interest rate.
You can have extended manufacturer warranties if you
Yep.
register the mechanicals in the home.
Interest rate.
Low interest rate.
So we have a town here, and well, you're from here, I know that. Westfield is having them up. So they're building so fast there. It's the 7th largest growing town in the United States, according to the mayor. And they have all these new builds. The houses that are trying to be resold can't compete. If they're 5 years or under, they can't compete with that
Because you can just go build it new.
it's right next door to them.
Right.
So it's really hard when you have these builders coming in, providing more and more product. But then anybody who does have to move, like you said, not even in that neighborhood, they have a really hard
But
time.
there are pros, right? So I built my house probably 10 years ago, and it was in McCordsville before McCordsville kind of like has become what
Became
it
a
has.
town.
And I was early into the neighborhood, and my house is over doubled because I was there's COVID, right? But regardless of that, I was early into a neighborhood, and then to what you were saying, prices go up for the
Yep.
most part until like recently.
Yeah, you should be first. If you could be the first 10, you're going to make money.
You're going to
on
make
your
money,
house.
right? 100%. But so people want to be like, okay, well, we all hear this all the time. Well, new construction is, it's crap materials. Brother, I have seen crap materials from the early 2000s. I have seen crap materials from the 90s. You want to talk about stuff from the 70s? Like, cool.
Right.
It is great framing. And I have no sump pump. Like, it's something everywhere. Like, I have
Right.
stuff that doesn't have soffit vents from the 70s.
yeah.
Like, there's always something, and don't tell me like that this stuff is like just not good. Every house is independent and unique of itself. Like, that's just the reality of it. I don't know. I think we overinflate some of this stuff. Good luck trying to go buy that house from the 70s anyways. It's like, oh, I want this fully updated 70s house on 2 acres for like $350.
Do you do you ever wonder like what construction materials from today will be like admonished in the future?
Ugh.
Like
They're all
'cause
going to be on the printing. What is that printer? The
3D printer.
3D printer.
You can 3D print houses right now.
Yeah,
I know.
it's happening.
I think it's going to happen. I just heard somebody who did something. This is totally off the case, but they 3D printed a gun and used it.
Yeah, you're directly referencing recent news.
Wait, is this the United Healthcare?
Yeah.
That was the guy that did it.
Yeah.
I'm like, really?
I'm not going down this rabbit
No.
hole
Oh,
right
Oh,
now.
I'll put my
You're
tinfoil hat on.
The 3D, that
a
stuff
3D
is getting
printed
interesting.
weapon.
That and AI. Oh my gosh. You're talking about what's going to happen in the future?
Oh,
Oh, my
man.
God. There's so much stuff.
Can we talk real quick about AI?
Oh gosh, I hate AI.
It's
There's-
scary.
The AI deepfake videos are tricking every person in my family that's 70 and above, and it's becoming a point of contention. So, like, my stepmother-in-law, like, posted an AI video that was like, why is it okay to show a mother breastfeeding her baby, but it's not okay to show a soldier coming home from the war? And I'm like, well, one, it's okay to show both.
Yeah.
Right? Like, those are both completely socially acceptable. But some people in the family are like, do we talk to her? And I'm like, no. Like, she is of the last generation that can leave this earth without ever having to know it's not all real.
Yeah.
Like, let's just let her go.
Yeah. Let her die on that hill.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, the young gen, so I have a 6-year-old, and I'm going to have to teach him. Some of this stuff looks really real,
And it's not.
and it's not.
It's
Yeah.
scary. That's where, my grandkids, same thing. I'm like, what kind of world are they going to go into that is totally
But they
Weird.
said that about my generation. I mean, I was
yeah,
born.
AI's weird, though. That's
Wait, how old are you?
I'm 45, about to be 46. So
Okay.
my grandfather was an early adapter to the internet. I was on the internet back when I was 6th, 7th grade, right?
Yep.
Which is like really, really early.
Dial up.
Yeah, AOL. Yeah. Somebody would call and it disconnects you, like all types of stuff, right? I was like,
Some people still have AOL.com.
but well, some agents still have AOL email addresses, but They thought about that about us, like, oh, they're going to be introduced into this, and grunge was a thing and all this stuff, and it was very much a little bit of a anti-establishment political movement back then in the late 90s and stuff like that. And it's just interesting when you think about it. Like, then it's the next one, it's like, this is the first generation ever that doesn't know that the internet didn't exist.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, for my dad, like, I think his parents were like, the Beatles and Elvis are gonna kill the world. Like, I think it's always something, and I think humanity adapts. That doesn't mean we're not backsliding, but I think we'll be okay.
I do think, like,
belief.
the benefit of where we are now is, and it's weird because my kid's 6, so I'm probably having these conversations a little too preemptively with him. But I was trying to explain to him, like, when I was young, whatever, like, people told you, you believed.
Yeah.
Right? Like, my parents were of the last generation on Earth that will not be fact checked.
Yeah.
Right?
And they just made stuff up.
Right. Or somebody said it to them, they didn't they didn't question it. And it's like, the only way I could ever fact check is if, like, we bought an encyclopedia. Mm-hmm. Right? And that was like, and so, I mean, we thought microwaves were bad. We thought margarine was good and butter was bad for you. And now, like, the world has flip-flopped. Right?
I remember that. Microwaves were bad. Think of all the radiation it's putting into your food.
You can't sit within a certain amount of feet of the TV.
You'll go blind.
Right. And
well,
it's
I
like,
was told if I sat close to the TV, I'll go blind.
Yeah. And it's...
That one didn't come to fruition, did it?
Now, if I say something to my child, he could ask Alexa and fact check me.
Yep.
Right? And I kind of like that as a parent, because then I'm like, okay, it's amazing how many things I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now we're just talking about the internet. Okay, great.
Yep.
No, I don't know. It's all interesting. I mean, we can go down all these rabbit holes. That's why we want you on here. But
Okay, what was your next topic? I know you have something
oh,
else.
we're done complaining about new construction. Okay.
Oh, well.
We weren't
keep
complaining.
going.
Where it's more like,
What we're
it's
seeing
not
is
all rosy.
It is good, but in my opinion, you got to plan to be in the house,
Correct.
I think, 10 years.
I agree.
at least not 2.
More than 5.
Okay. Not 2, more than 5, at least 10. Right.
I mean, I think 10 is the play for anybody for all housing, where, like, there's just no way you're most likely going to take any kind of hit.
I don't know, resale, because it's such a slim margin anyway. I think you can sell resale within 3-4 years and at least break even. Or it's close.
I'd say historically that's inaccurate. It kind of depends on what the economy's doing, the housing market's doing.
Well,
I would say recent history, that 100%, like, we could fact check that real quick.
FC
With
Tucker
Alexa.
Well, the FC Tucker annual conference call, whatever, they said 3.8% in 2023 and 3.5% so far in 2024. So that's only 3 and 3. So we're not there in 2 years to be able to sell it because of commissions.
And taxes.
Yeah. So if it even continues to go up 3?
But
you had a conversation.
But you
You
paid
were
down a
talking
little bit
about
of equity.
where are we next year?
So-
are we going down?
Yeah, so, like, it's weird. Sale prices, okay, this is my tinfoil hat theory for this
go.
episode. So sale prices have increased in the central Indiana market and in my other market in Charlotte. Sale prices have gone up. But the amount of houses that have not sold or have withdrawn from the market completely tells me that, like, they will try again to sell at some point in the future.
Yes.
And the people that have to sell now have to sell. And I think sellers are more inclined to make whatever price drops necessary to incur a sale. And they can do it because they have a buttload of equity, right? Mm-hmm. I think property values are going to dip, bold prediction, 10 to 15% next year, right? And I think it's going to be a lot of people that failed to sell in 2024 hitting the market in March and April, and we will be flooded with inventory.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot of pent-up demand to just do it.
Man.
They've waited. It's been 7%. It's been 7%. That's not going to change.
And I do hope the interest rates stay high. I know that's also not popular, but there's so many people stuck in houses right now because of low rates that if you do that again, 3 or 4 years later.
So what do you call high? So I am of the same opinion. I'm just curious what you think high is.
They got to stay in the sixes.
So I think 5'5" to 6'2". I think they need to be there for a decade. That's my personal opinion. That's what I've been saying. I think they're predicting around 6'2" next year. I don't think it hits. I thought it was going to be into the fives, but I just think the economy is
Buffini
just...
said we'll never see it below 6 again. Maybe 5.9. He was saying that was his bold predictions of the 2024.
Yeah, I think we need to be there to stabilize the market, the economy, all of it. I think we need to stay there. You can't buy all the time and save at the same time. And now we have people who can't buy at all or save at the same time. And we've got to find this happy medium. And what has happened is, like, you still have people who can do buy and save. And then there's the disparity of those who can do neither is growing larger and larger, in my opinion. And that's causing animosity and all this other stuff. And we need to get back to having a larger middle class, quite honestly.
I think, and granted, this is my first market turn. Like, I'm very cognizant of, I have a certain lack of perspective in the industry. I think to stabilize the market, property values have to come down.
Okay, so think about this, though. So I agree with you a little bit. I think the percentage we slightly disagree with on, but who cares? When I was telling you about this in 2008 when I bought my house, right?
Yep.
And I bought it at like 179, and I sold it like 8 years later for
179.
Yeah, yeah.
But I made like 40 G's because of the equity. But here's the crazy part: that house is now worth 360, even after I sold it 2 years after that. So it's more about the property values did go down, but then they still came back up again, and
Right.
now they've exceeded that. So even if they go down, now that we've broken this threshold up here, will it eventually come back up? That's what I don't know, because that's what happened in 2008.
I mean, everything goes up. If you take 1900 to 2024, it's all gone up.
It's a net win. Yeah. If you were 124 years old,
Right.
you've come out okay.
So I did the stats. We talked about this. So I did 2019 November and 2020 24
the
November.
glory days of pre-COVID.
And
we didn't even know what
which was
COVID
when we were
was.
saying it was a better market. We didn't have anything weird happening yet. And I just did Carmel. So in 2019, 134 houses sold in November. In 2024, 112. So not really a big difference the way they're talking about, in my opinion. The amount of the price or days on market, so average was 42 and median was 18. And in this November, the average was 31 and 14. Hardly different. And then the list to sale ratio in 2024 was 98% of all those solds. And in 2019, it was 98%. And the final thing is the average sale. This is the only thing that is different. The average sale price in 2019 was $380, and the average in 2024, 1 year later, $653. That's the change, the price.
Double. But
Not anything else.
the crazy part about the numbers are the same, and the price piece. Let's call a lot of that inflation, also, right? Appreciation times inflation. Back in 2019, I don't know if you remember, we thought that was a seller's market and houses were overvalued. Do you remember that?
I didn't think it was a seller's market in 2019.
Everybody I talked to.
Really?
thought it-
I don't remember.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I'm curious.
I didn't know what I was doing yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember talking to, like, because,
I just feel like it's always been a buyer's market till 2021.
I can remember, talking to, like, our managing broker, Angel, I love her to death. She was talking about how she had buyers on the sidelines because they thought homes were overpriced and that it was going to adjust because it's too much of a seller's market. And I remember it so vividly because the next year was 2020, and she was like, I was like, man, this is just insane. And she's like, remember all the people last year that I told you about who thought it was overinflated? And I was like, oh, that's right. So that I happened to have a conversation that, like, kind of bullet points it for me, but a lot of people in 2019 thought that everything was overvalued.
But the other conversation we've been doing this podcast, we did it through the 21, 22, 23. Every time we talked about whether they should buy, it's now.
Yeah, time in the
because
market.
it went up higher and it went higher. All those people that waited another 6 months, they lost a lot of money. So right now the buyers have been waiting to see if the interest rate's going to come down. We don't think it's going to be much enough. But also then when's a good time for them to buy? It was yesterday. It's always going to be yesterday, even if we get this drop. So it won't be enough to say you need to buy now.
Because you're always paying yourself into equity, right? So like even when I lived in a house for 8 years and sold it at the same price I bought it at because there was a market change, I still put no money out of my own pocket into buying our next house because we had $40,000 with equity in the previous house. And so it didn't matter.
Right.
And like we've gotten trapped in this idea, like, so buying a home, obviously it's your largest fiscal investment that you can make for most people at least. But it doesn't always have to just like make sense. Like if you just own a house and stay in it, financially it makes sense. Like that's just the long and short of it.
Right.
We've turned it into this other thing where it's almost like playing the stock market or gambling, like where it's like.
I mean, a house is a commodity, but you sleep in it.
And it's supposed to be an investment. It is.
Right. I also think there's the component too of like the housing market and realtors and realtor activities have been hot topics in the news for like 4 straight years. Mm-hmm. And also fear sells in the news. So like sellers never want to, like sellers fear, did I sell my home for too little? And buyers fear, did I pay too much? Yeah. And everyone fears, did I time it right? And it's like, look, we don't know. You are, I think, buying and selling stocks. Mm-hmm. Right? I sold my Doge at 27 cents thinking like, let's go. And then had I just held it for another couple of months, the amount of money I would have made, right? We're all speculating.
Yeah. Do you remember the conversations constantly during 21 and 2022 when you sold it with 15, 18, whatever offers, you listed it too.
Yeah, we should have priced it higher.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like...
I still do. Like this year, I've had more failure than I ever have, whether it's listings not selling, sellers firing me, or whatever. And man, I have said multiple times, I miss the pandemic market so much. I was a hero. Yeah. You know, I would list your house. I'd say a number that was higher than the seller thought, and we'd get 30,000 more than that. And like,
and they'd say thank you, and you're like, you're welcome, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I got hugs at the closing table, and then now they're like, can I sign remotely? And so I think like, because I got started in 2019, I sold 10 homes, and I was kind of getting my footing, and then the pandemic happened, and so I just wish I would have appreciated that more.
Yeah,
that was a
I
great
started 2008, so I think I've counted 4 changes.
4 turns.
4, yeah. So this one to me, we constantly say is a normal market. We say that more because it's becoming more of the normal market of the 2019-18. But every market you're in is your normal market. You got to deal with what you got.
And also the rate of normalization can also be stressful, right? So like one thing I've hated is how many agents are saying like, well, yeah, inventory's going up, but like it's still historically low compared to all these other years. And I'm like, yes, but it's gone up that much in like 4 months.
Yes.
That's stressful.
And days on market are going up a lot.
Oh,
and
skyrocket.
The buyer pool is not.
Right.
Because of interest rates.
Dude, when I pull comps now, I think you guys talked about this 2 or 3 episodes ago, but I make a delineation of like the comps that sold in 10 days or less and the ones that didn't. And I'm trying to find like, what did those homes have? And does my listing have
actually
it?
have that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or to show your sellers, we talked about this as well, is show your sellers what they're competing against. And we said this. I used to take the sellers to the neighborhood's, houses. We would just say we're doing a preview, and I would walk through because I would try to show them, this is why I'm saying you need to do this to your house. Look at this house, this, and they're competing directly with you right now. And that's the only way they can physically realize what you're saying. Because if you physically walk into their house and go, you need to do this and you need to do this, because I take 50 buyers through houses every 6 months, and I know what they say and what they do or don't like, they're going to look at you cross-eyed and go, it's fine, I've lived here forever. And like, no,
right.
You do have a competition. So you can use pictures nowadays, but walking into those houses and saying, or if their house smells,
pay good money for good photos. I can make a lot of things disappear to just get you in the
Yeah.
house.
How many times do you have buyers go in and go, oh, those pictures made this house look like that?
Every
Right.
other time. So this is weird. You were talking about what we talked about before, and this is kind of on a side note real quick. What do you think of brokers opens?
Oh, you guys talked about this on
Just curious.
Friday's episode. I've never done one, and much like what Shelly said, I would do one, or I would go to one, if an agent was like, hey, this thing's not selling, my sellers aren't listening to me, I need feedback from other real estate agents.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like,
Which is
I would
hard
be
to get
helpful there.
anymore since COVID. It's a
Oh,
whole
dude,
thing.
you're talking about showing feedback?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's garbage.
Did you guys hear there was, I don't know all the details, but there was something West Coast where a buyer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Oh.
we know where you're going.
Yeah, there was
The
like
lawsuit?
yes. So
We've
the
talked
lawsuit-
about it a few times, and that's where we're like, I don't know if I want to give you feedback.
There's still a way to give feedback without showing your client's hand. You can give your own
So
professional
finish
feedback.
so you can explain if
But-
people didn't see those episodes. But yeah, we
Yeah,
talked-
no, something to the effect of like the buyer's agent had left feedback after showing saying they felt the home was overpriced. The seller was very difficult during the negotiations, and at the closing table, it came out that the seller was being difficult because the buyer's feedback had said their home was overpriced, and the seller was offended. And a lot of agents are like, "Well, I'm never doing showing feedback again."
And then the buyer sued the agent because they
Right.
didn't get the deal that they thought they could have because the feedback was provided.
I don't even know if the case is done yet, but I do want to know the outcome.
Yeah, I do too.
Because it's like, you can't prove that had you said the home was priced right, the process would have been different.
I never answer the price question, period. I don't answer it because if I say it's back in the day, I will tell you, you guys both didn't start then, but back in the day, 2010, 11, or 12, here's your feedback. No matter what your feedback is about anything, you always said it's priced too high.
Right.
The agents wanted you to put that in there. That's what you always said that because you just leave it open for them to now when they go back to their conversation with their seller, and it's because we were at 180 days on the market, is to say, look at all the feedback. The price is too high. We were trying like hell to provide information to help our agents get price drops because we needed them. So you always said that. Now I don't answer it at all.
But it's also, there's only like 4 options on the drop-down box.
Well, it depends on what they make, yeah.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is there's this one incident. So let's do a blanket policy for everybody. And the argument also doesn't apply because people have been doing that for 3 freaking years. And now one thing came out to justify your laziness.
Yeah, I mean, if there was like the amount of showing feedbacks that have occurred.
If we had a class action for like, this has been happening like for 200,000 people, different story. That's
Right.
not what we're talking about.
So what do you think about, I highly agree with this, and I have a team, obviously, so that they have to be, they have to shadow somebody, or they have to do an internship with somebody for 6 months. They can't just go, like you said, go and sell or buy a house at the person's highest or amount of money they're ever going to spend or deal with or lose with a person who's green and never even done it before. And you see on the other side, I mean, I'm like doing what they should be doing because I'm like watching this go down a really bad rabbit hole.
It's hard though, because I mean, all of my people when they've come on, other than Jacob, who had actually been in the business longer than me, I mean, they were in my hip pocket for a year. I mean,
Yeah.
they went to inspections with me, like everything. they
Show
did
how to
with me.
show a house. Like,
Everything.
It's really like how to show a house.
But
All that.
I didn't have that.
Same.
And like I turned out okay.
I didn't have it.
Now I put a lot of work in to get there, and I also messed up at the beginning. Like I mean, I don't have a problem saying that. Like I had 1 or 2 transactions where I could have done. I didn't fill it out as well. I had to send my next 5 transactions contracts through my managing broker, right, to make sure everything was done correctly. Well, guess what? Like I know them inside and out now because I was like,
Right.
well, let's not do that again. All because I checked the wrong box on the taxes. And
For recently built construction?
no.
Oh,
no.
okay.
It was on a resale. And the other agent was kind enough to catch it.
I do that.
Yeah, but
I will do that.
But I mean, that was a pretty big mistake.
We do that
know?
now when buyer's agents submit offers, not asking for any commission.
Yeah. You're
And
missing
it's like,
something.
we run it buyer seller, and we're like, look, technically they wrote an offer that if you accepted it and you did not pay the buyer's agent, I think technically you can sell your home without paying the buyer's agent, and the issue is the buyer's agents.
Yeah.
Because
but-
they have the document stating that the buyer will pay them.
Right, but I'm like, in the spirit of what I think they intended, I think we should ask them to resubmit the offer correctly.
Well, when you get to the closing table and they can't afford to pay their buyer's agent because they didn't know anything
Right.
about what wasn't done correctly
like
for
it
them.
disqualifies them from like getting the loan. 'cause-
Yeah, because they don't know. But that's part of what the lenders aren't checking today's world. They're not checking for if the brokerage has transaction fees and all this stuff when they do the closing disclosure.
Right.
But I have been told by one lender I had this long conversation with, he's been to tables where the buyer's agent sat at the table and said, I don't see my, or the day before, you know, you can say, my commission's not on here. And they're like, well, you didn't ask for it. And then they turn around. This one story was horrible. And at the closing table, they had switched it. The settlement statement had not gone over it with the buyer, and the buyer had that extra money on their side. And the closing disclosure had already gone out. I don't know how it happened. But that buyer was sitting there, and the agent's like, no, I will get paid. And the buyer is like, I can't.
Right.
So, you know.
Here's the answer. That mistake will never be made again
No, it
by
won't.
that agent.
Right.
Like, just eat it and run. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Well, they were talking about at the other meeting with Buffini. He was saying the amount of houses falling through right now at inspection and stuff is so high.
Right.
That's a lot of money going out the window.
Right. But my point is, so a seller could know their roof leaks, not represent it, or not make that representation.
And then when you find out and leave, they get money.
Yeah.
The seller gets that money?
The seller keeps the
that's
money.
why-
Well, why would you tell the truth?
I don't know. We also
Go
don't
around
have
just putting your house on the market.
we also don't have counter forms. So any term you want to change on our 17-page purchase agreement,
Well,
you have
that's
to
worse.
scratch out and write
Initial
it
it.
and then
Scratch
initial.
out?
Right.
You have to get everybody to initial it.
But you can't
don't
scratch
Yeah.
out on dot loop. Like
can
you're talking
strike
about you
through.
get it
I
all.
use zip forms.
But I mean, either way. So 17 pages.
And then we don't have deadlines for responses to our offers.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
I know. So I write this offer and I'm like, we'll have all the inspection and due diligence done within
So you
21
have
days.
to withdraw anything that gets sent out. Otherwise, it's in perpetuity.
I guess.
Well, that's
my gosh.
this is a little bit like that, but our inspection responses only have the date. Like it must be.
Yeah,
done
it should
by,
be 11:59 p.m. on
Correct.
that date.
I
On or
put
before
6 p.m. because I want to know what we're doing that day before I go to bed. I don't want them calling me at
Touche.
11 and saying this. So I always put 6
That's a-
p.m. in there.
That's a you problem.
No, I want a deadline on it.
I ain't in bed at midnight anyways.
I want a deadline on the
I'm
inspection
the guy
response.
doing the inspection response at 11
Yeah,
anyways.
I don't want to
Right.
talk to you at 11 o'clock at night.
I ain't
want to
calling
know
you.
before 6.
I'm sending a form, you know?
I know, but I don't like it. I hate
At
6 o'clock.
6. Because I have to watch The Bachelor.
It's Hallmark movie now.
Oh, my gosh.
No, I'm on a Survivor grind.
Yeah, I am on
Yeah.
that too.
The season
so
finale
there is-
starts tonight.
There's
Oh, I
no...
watch it tomorrow.
Okay, great.
There's literally no timelines on inspection responses. It's not like 14, 10 days.
Correct.
So it's just like, hey, like...
And no timelines on the offer. That was the
That's the
point that kills me because
Gosh.
you could write a timeline for your due diligence or inspection or whatever, but if the seller sits on the offer for 4 days, it's like, well, shit,
Oh,
now
your
I got to
timeline
change
went
it.
messed up.
Yeah.
So do you have lawyers involved?
Yeah, it's a lawyer state.
And how does that happen? I don't know because I know in Illinois.
There
but-
are as many lawyers as there are realtors. It's completely oversaturated. It's terrible. If I knew now, or if I knew then what I know now, I would have picked a different state.
Where does the compensation for the lawyer come from?
The buyer.
So that's another fee.
Yep.
Pay the
What is
agent.
that? What's that? I mean, it's not a set rate, I'm sure.
Well,
right? But
including title insurance, because the attorney sets that up, I would say $1,200 to $1,800 is pretty average,
Plus title.
including title.
So
It's not
we
insane.
we have lawyers at the title office getting paid in a way. So
Yeah, but they're just
kinda
part of the
different. Just part of
underwrite,
title,
and they're on
yeah.
salary and
Yeah.
stuff, you know.
Well, and it's like, a title company may have 1 or 2 attorneys, and they're doing 15,
Everything,
20
yeah.
transactions a day.
Well, the question I always wondered about that, having that lawyer involved, do they come and talk to you about fix this, change this? Like, do they are they over you telling you what you need to do?
Yeah, did they ever step their bounds and be like, hey, bud, you
It's
could have
very
written
rare.
this way?
They're so hands-off. You deal with the paralegal until the day of closing.
Okay, so they're not involved from day
So
one.
the lawyers have it made in the shade.
Yes, except for that there's a buttload of them. The
Okay.
competition pool is through the roof. And so some attorneys are out there like networking with realtors to try to get our
Oh, I
business.
couldn't imagine that phone call. The lenders do it here, like, and then the lawyers are
I
calling
wouldn't
you.
want to go to law school and pay that money.
to do that.
just to then bring donuts to the realty office.
Hey man, I was joking about this today about loan officers. Hey, I just want to get coffee, get to know you. I know you already got somebody you work with, but I just want to get to know you. I was like, come on, man, I've been doing this a while. Like,
Dude, when they call me, I'm so cantankerous now. I'll say, tell me 2 things about me or my firm.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
solid.
Like, I work a lot with Dan Duffer with Union Home Mortgage. And I'll never forget the day he called. He was like, I see you post about Rick and Morty and Reddit a lot. I'm like, those are my 2 keywords. Let's meet for coffee, right?
I don't like it when they say let's meet for coffee because I don't like coffee. Like, why do you just assume I want to meet for coffee?
Well, what's in your cup?
That's right. So the opposite side of that is everybody calls me like, hey, let's go get a drink. And I'm like, you do not know anything about
right,
Yeah.
yeah. So exactly. I mean, they are. I mean, but that's what they need to do to get business, I guess. But I'm going to start saying that.
We have a cat cafe close to where I live.
Oh,
There used to be one right next door.
Okay, so this is a thing?
yes.
I don't know. I'm not a cat guy.
Man.
I like other people's cats. I was just in a house.
Go home.
I've just dealt with so many houses
You've
that
had a
are
really bad-
destroyed by cats.
Oh, yeah.
They're just brutal to houses. The urine smell, like all of it, like it's just so bad. And I can cover up a lot of smells. It's really hard to cover up that smell. And so I like your cats. I don't want cats. I already have
So what about your
dogs that
cat
tear up
cafe?
this thing.
Oh, I'll try to get lenders to take me to the cat cafe. I'm like, yeah, we can have coffee, talk shop, and pet cats. Just to see what they would
I
say.
want to take them home because they're adoptable.
You can, yeah.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
It's not. It's actually the best because you go there, you get to
Get your
pet
cat
them,
fixed.
and then you leave without them.
Yeah, but then I want to take them home.
It's like if you're a school teacher, you get to go deal with other people's kids, and then you get to come home without them.
No, then I want to take them home.
Not the kids.
The kids or the cats?
The cats.
Okay.
Not the kids. Never.
Oh man, I don't know. It's been good to have you on, man. We love having you on. Shelly and I, like, I think what people don't understand is, or maybe they do. I don't know. I don't really care. This is just how like I am all the time. Like I mean, Shelly and I, like, we just sit and talk shop in the office. I do it with my team. I do it with a lot of people, and not everybody understands our industry the same way. Not everybody takes it as seriously the same way. Not everybody worries about the future of it or how the past created our current situation. Like, I just love it and everything about it. And like, I like to talk about it because I also learn more. And then the more you have the ability to explain things or ideas, the smarter that you are, or the more flaws you see in your thinking. And like, you do the same thing. And so like, I just think it's like, I hate to steal like a Chuck Pagano quote, but like, iron sharpens iron, right?
Right.
And like, it makes us better. And it also helps us see our flaws and like what we do need to improve on and stuff like that. Cause like, I'm according to my mom, I'm a great agent, right? Like, but,
Right.
like I there's things that, like, we had a team meeting today. Like, there's certain back end things I need to improve on. There's certain front end things other agents need to improve on. Like,
Well,
and
just
like, I just
having-
want to be a good agent, and I want other people to become great agents. That's
With
it.
just having you, I know, like, I want you to give your Facebook page because I love it, is no matter what you say, whether people agree or disagree, that conversation is going to help you some way. You're going to
Yeah.
get a nugget out of it and learn something, or go away going, I know now why I'm so right about that. And you go away going, I'm so right about that. It doesn't matter. It's the good conversation that was had. And on your Facebook page is that. You say something and it just
Right.
goes, and you hear both back and forth, and you bring up topics that people really start to think about.
More importantly, they're uncomfortable talking about.
Well,
Right.
and I've had consumers express too that like it's eye-opening to see that realtors are not in agreement about big topics. So like, for example, when the settlement was announced and the written buyer agreements prior to touring house was announced, and I was very vocal on Facebook about like, that doesn't mean exclusive buyer agency. It doesn't have to be that. And like, some realtors were like, well, our legal team would strongly disagree with you. And it's like, okay, I understand, but it even says in the NAR frequently asked questions guide, does it have to be exclusive agency? No. Right. And then you fast forward a few months later, And I think I was right. It's still confusing, but like now, in North Carolina at least, we have touring agreements that the state legal association have given us that is not exclusive agency. And I'm like,
But it allows you the ability to show a house.
it does.
That's
It is
interesting.
technically non-exclusive agency for zero fee for a determinate amount of time. And then we just add to it that they will have the option to hire us when we're submitting our
I
offer.
like that.
Which is
I
interesting.
like
So what
that.
it does is, because currently what it has done, like whether they like it or not, they feel like it's put the power into the buyer's hand. It's kind of put it into the agent's hands.
Yeah.
It's also
under
put it
the
into
guise
the
of
sellers,
its right.
because they could go in unrepresented because they don't want to sign that document and go with the listing agent. Do you have dual agency in North Carolina?
We do.
Yeah. And they're
But-
trying to get that to go away, I've heard.
I'm okay with I feel icky doing it most of the time.
So it's weird. The very first time I did, everybody's like, "Oh, dual." So if everybody doesn't understand dual agencies, or if you like let's do layman's terms, you represent both sides, buyer and seller, right? And so, or limited agency, whatever you want to call it. So, the very first time I did it, I think consumers are like, "Oh, you can get both sides," and you're like, dude,
Right.
First of all, that's not. I mean, yes, the compensation wise, yes, but it's actually a nightmare. The very first one I did, I was like, kind of the seller countered, and so I went to explain it to my buyer, and my buyer started negotiating against me, and I was like you're my client. Wait a second, and it was just like,
It's
oh,
hard.
this is way more
hard
complex
to walk
than
that
it thinks.
line. I've done
Right.
it. Yeah.
You're literally supposed to be like just a communicator in between,
Right.
right?
Well,
is how it's supposed
isn't
to work.
the
but-
fiduciary responsibility not goes away, but it brings you down a level.
It
of
adds
what you can
limitations.
do.
It does.
Yes,
It
yeah.
does. I have done it specifically when we're talking about like COVID market and stuff like that, and I would have a listing and a buyer would find out about it or whatever, and it would be bought off market, on market type situation, and you know what I mean, and like usually my involvement started to go down or whatever it may be, but I have absolutely done it, and I've been fine with it, but I do think it is way more complex than people think, and it is way more difficult.
They
than
also
people
think you don't do as much work that way. You're doing the exact same amount on both sides,
Right.
and actually probably doing a little bit more to try to keep it sane.
Yeah.
I even don't like, I mean, we all run a team, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't like when I have two agents working the opposite sides of the same deal. Because I'm like, God, I hope you guys aren't putting anybody at a disadvantage to the other.
I've never had that. That's
Oh,
interesting.
man.
Yeah, Jeff gets all my
I'm glad
leads
you put
from
that on my radar.
listings.
Yeah,
no,
it's-
Jeff gets all my leads on my listings because I don't want to do the limited agency. So, but it's still limited agency because it's your team.
Yeah.
But at least I'm not.
Yeah, but
Anywhere
it'd be
near that
way
side.
different if I had like Jacob and Bo.
Right.
Well, I think
I'd be
we've
like,
gone
"You guys just
way
figured this
over.
out."
We're going way over, and
Okay, yeah.
we have more to talk to you about. When you're next in town, please let us know.
It'll be next summer because it snowed today and I'm never doing this again. Yeah.
Spring
Yes,
it
it's
is.
snowing.
Okay.
It is snowing.
Yeah. But genuinely, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we love having you
fun.
on.
Yeah,
man.
you're always good to have a conversation with. So tell everybody how to get a hold of you and your Facebook page.
So my really for my Facebook page, I'm the only Josh Dilmaghani on
Yeah.
Facebook.
Spell that.
So it's a Dilmaghani, Dilmaghani. Took me until like the
I'm gonna
second
ring
grade.
a bell like it's a spelling bee. Ding.
Yeah, right.
And your email. You want to give anything out?
Probably not.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
Okay. You just like and follow.
And I'm Shelly Walters with the Shelly Walters Realty Group. You can reach me at 317-201-2601 with FC Tucker.
And I'm Kyle Morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker. 317-649-5122.